Hey everyone, it's Yanitza Munoz here on Green Talk by Green Care Solutions on iHeartRadio, KCAA, NBC Radio, Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. You can also find us on all podcast platforms 24/7. Today we have some amazing guests. You guys can already see them on the screen. I'm going to announce them during the show, but we are featuring QualScore today. I'm really excited to explain to you guys who they are. But first, let me go over some quick details about Green Talk by Green Care Solutions. So Green Talk is a pop culture and educational cannabis show. We are not doctors, even though we are going to have one on the show, but the company specifically has other doctors for you as well. You can call GCS for any of your green care needs at 951-609-4071. We are a 13-time award-winning company featured in Forbes, Yahoo Finance, Swagger, and more. Go to greencaresolutions.com or greentalknews.com for more info. I also want to give a quick shout out to an amazing book I have right in front of me. You can see all of the details as well here at the screen. Her name is Reem Musa. So Reem Musa is the author of the book, Not a Follower. So, 2020 is crazy, right? Wild times. And it's good to really pay attention to your surroundings. She is also the founder and creator of the app Pantasia, which you can get on any smartphone device. So Reem preaches the importance of being a student of life and not a follower. I highly recommend for you guys to look into this book and go ahead and you can get it on Amazon as well. So now I want to introduce QualScore, and I also have two other people here on the screen you guys can already see. But first, let me introduce the founder of QualScore. We have Jason Cragholm, and we also have Dr. Mary Clifton and Chad Walkaden. Thank you all for being on the show. I love how we have people from different parts of the world right now. We have Chadwick. He's Australian, but he's in Peru. Jason's in California, but he's in the Bay Area. And Doctor, where are you zooming in from?
Well, I live in New York, but I'm in Michigan.
Oh, there you go. Wow, I love this. And everyone, you guys already know we're here in Los Angeles. So I love that we're doing a very, very educational topic today because we usually have a lot of celebrities on, and I know a lot of our followers are like, come on, guys, I want to talk more about cannabis. So here you guys go for all of our listeners on the radio and viewers on YouTube and anybody that's streaming on the apps. So I want to explain to you guys why we're doing this. Now with cannabis, there's so much education that needs to be done. There's still kind of like the wild, wild west where we're going to get into it. And it's good to know that there's companies like QualScore out there. So I want you guys to also talk about who you are individually, but I'm going to give a brief description. So Jason created QualScore. Chad is a stage 4 cancer survivor, and he beat cancer like 3 times. Amazing. And Dr. Clifton, you believe in medicinal cannabis use, and you are very, very educated in cannabinoids because nowadays people always like to pretend or think that they know a lot about cannabis, but there's still so many more studies that keep coming out, and it's always important to always talk to a professional physician who understands the plant, because there are doctors out there that are still licensed MDs and they're still great, but they probably don't know much about cannabinoids. I want to know exactly what QualScore is so that the audience kind of has a clear understanding.
Yes, so QualScore, what QualScore is it's a brand reputation management software system for dispensaries and delivery companies in the cannabis industry.
And what I also love about your website, QualScore, which is right here at the bottom of the screen, is when you go on it, it also tells you the importance of like people verifying from what I understand, verifying that these are like real companies. How can someone go on there and sign up, and how can the consumer know that this company has been like in business for a while, or do they get like a 3, 4, 5-star rating?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the whole system it works automatically. So a dispensary, it's really easy to set up, literally like a 5-minute setup process. We would work through your technology provider to deploy the actual survey link to your customers at the appropriate times. And then the customer would just simply take the survey, by clicking it, a link on their mobile phone, and then completing the survey. And all that data is then reported back to the dispensary or business at hand. But what we're doing is measuring the quality of products and or service that was actually provided, quality of customer service and loyalty.
And when they do this survey, do they explain like whether they're a first cannabis user, moderate, or advanced, and maybe the reasons on why they want to consume cannabis? So it's kind of like, I guess you're going to see a doctor in a sense, but you're getting like that script so they kind of understand your needs.
Yes, and that's where the evolution of QualScore system will get to in the future. So introducing the Tres Amigos, Mary Clifton and Chad Walkaden, they are the efficacy side of the whole equation. So what I'm really looking forward to doing for QualScore is representing the quality and the safety of the products and the brands that are representing those products. But then we're going to dive in deeper with more technology advancement and development to really learn about different profiles of people, and then how that is effective, what product is effective for that person. But that's certainly the evolution of what we're getting to, because like I said, I'm first the quality and safety spot. So that's the first iteration. But then let's really get into it where we can find out the efficacy of all this great plant. And that's where Chad Walkaden and OnTracka and Mary Clifton come in.
And I guess to add in at that point, so OnTracka and Jason's company, so OnTracka and QualScore have a relationship, and we can share some of that on this call right now. What we're really interested in, as you mentioned before, was why are people utilizing cannabis? Because really what we need to get to is, Jason and I had this conversation 2 weeks ago, we need to move from anecdotal evidence and get it into a place where there's data and there's research. So there's robust real-world evidence that is able to stand up for regulatory bodies such as the FDA. And that's where we get to legitimize cannabis into healthcare. And then there's, the big focus in OnTracka is about patient-reported outcomes, looking at the reasons why people are coming into the app, why they're using cannabinoids, the different products, the different dosing, grouping all that together so that we can have a profile of how effective this is, what are the benefits, and then what are some of the risks that may be involved in different integrations. And I think that area about risk and benefits is essential to be able to get the masses to come to cannabis, because where we want to go collectively, the three of us, and obviously yourself as well, and the vision for cannabis is to get back to where it was, where it's a staple American house item that is used to treat ailments and support people to feel their best. And while at the moment there's the green wave is here, and the evolution, the green rush is what everyone is kind of chasing, but with that comes some cowboys, and that's when there's a need for quality, safety, and efficacy to then be able to demonstrate, yes, this has a legitimate place in healthcare.
I love that. And so sorry, Doctor.
There's so much great value in being able to have a brand management system like QualScore that's going to be able to improve trust with your customers, but also be able to support this additional data that we need to collect and identify exactly, how these products are working and what products are working best for people. Because we're never going to have these big, so-called gold standard randomized controlled trials where we take 10,000 pain sufferers and put half of them on a sativa and half of them on an indica. But we do have, thousands and thousands of administrations per day that we can collect, and then gather a lot of data from those administrations on what kind of products work in what circumstance. And that's powerful, very valuable data scientifically. So having the ability to assess quality, but then also having Chad's work on OnTracka, where people can track their progress, track their administrations, and kind of also see how your lifestyle and the patterns of your sleep and your eating and your relationships impact your usage or impact the efficacy of the product, where some days you may need 1 puff, another day you might need 4 puffs, and you're like, why is that happening to my body? Then a lot of times when you can dial back on your tracking device, like Chad has delivered, you'll see why. You'll see that you haven't been eating and sleeping, and so the ECS, your endocannabinoid system, is going to be a little less balanced and toned because of your overall lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. And also, Doctor, on YouTube, you have a YouTube channel, and you've also brought up how different cannabis products can help you in a different way, because a lot of listeners are still learning about cannabis, whether they want to vape it, use flower, or consume it orally. They still don't know what works for them, I guess is what I'm trying to explain. So with this data that you guys are going to create, it can also just kind of help people get the right information, correct? Because it is, unfortunately, especially when it comes to edibles, when it comes to THC edibles, it can make people very sick, make them very paranoid, crazy. But if there was something, which is exactly what you guys have and are perfecting, where people understand like X amount of dosage, maybe with X amount of experience or body weight, can really help people determine what works for them.
Oh, I think that's absolutely true. All of my patients that have used edibles, I mean, I would have to say the vast majority have a bad edible experience surrounding their good edible experiences. Everybody has a healthy respect for edibles. So we have to be sure that we provide people with really good data on how to choose and use the products that they're selecting. It always seems like a cookie or a gummy bear is going to be sort of innocuous, right? And sometimes those lead to some difficult experiences if you're not keeping good track of the actual administrative amount of THC in those products.
And it's so cool with your app, Chad, because people can also, have this saved in their phone and kind of just like track what they're doing, seeing what works for them. Everyone that's watching or listening, Chad is actually the founder of this app. And so tell me a little bit about your journey with cancer and why you created this app in the cannabis space.
Yeah, thanks. OnTracka is about supporting people to feel their best. And then to reverse engineer that, I was a mental health expert. Well, I am a mental health expert and forensic social worker. So I worked in child protection, a lot of domestic violence, a lot of substance misuse, a lot of child abuse, some fairly challenging work. And then I got diagnosed as a 29-year-old man with a stage 4 cancer. And as you can imagine, your whole life turns upside down and there's a lot of change and there's a lot of fear. But one of the things that really helped me was the understanding that what I was going through back then, combined with my experience in working in government in Australia and the UK, in the United Kingdom, was a real potential to be able to support people to feel better or, live better for longer. And that's kind of been like this driving mission. And I guess the best way to look at OnTracka is to think about an old journal or day planner that's walked into the future. So, if you've been keeping a diary or a travel planner, maybe those, if you lose that stuff, it's disastrous, right? So we've got something, and we know increasingly people are being more reliant on their phones. So we've got this little journey planner which tracks their cannabinoid use, connects it to a wearable, has a look at, as Dr. Mary mentioned before, different lifestyle factors. Because really where we need to look at is, this is a health app, right? It's a health app. But if you're looking at the best evidence, so everything in OnTracka is supported by an evidence base. And if you're looking at the best evidence, you should be taking cannabinoids. You simply should be doing that. And it's whether you're microdosing a THC, whether you're utilizing a CBD for inflammation or to sleep better or to reduce some anxiety, or whether you're using combinations of both or more. It's about an individual choice, and how we can personalize that to support people feel their best is moving away from, is this going to work or it's not going to work, and hearsay, but basing it on your life, your health, and your data, and supporting first and foremost you to feel your best, and then grouping that together with validated questionnaires and validated assessments, which Dr. Mary could come in and discuss as well, because we need doctors, policymakers to be able to see what many of us and your listeners already know about cannabis, but we need to really be able to evidence that. And I think that's what the combination of the three of us are collectively working to achieve. And I think we're on our way.
OnTracka, is it part of QualScore, or is it just an extra thing where people can go on QualScore and then find apps like yourself that are credible and that they can sign up for to track whether their cannabis use is good for them and how to perfect it?
Yeah, so good question. Really what we see is that a lot around the world, I'm speaking to a lot of companies, no one wants to be not all the time, but not a lot of cannabis companies want to just be a company that sells flower, edibles, and oils. You know, it's not just in the cannabis industry, but everyone wants this tech component. But not everyone has the capabilities to be able to do that or the budget to be able to build out an industry-leading technology. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that OnTracka with QualScore is powering the cannabis revolution. And it's doing that by going, okay, how do we do that? Well, really what we want to do is be able to support cannabis companies and dispensaries to better support their customers. You know, we want patients, so we want customers coming in to have informed decisions based on evidence and data. Yeah, we want to improve that customer experience, and we want to support the cannabis industry to thrive. And to do that, we need to be able to use data and research to be able to take it to where it needs to go and where it deserves to be. And the relationship between the three of us working together, the brands working in partnership and collaboration, is about achieving that goal.
Yes. And sorry that I was about to jump in there, but I love what you guys are doing, because for anybody who doesn't know this, Google, which the whole world uses it can have some information that could be misleading, especially when it comes to like reviews of companies. And since cannabis here in the United States is still not federally legal, there's restrictions. And in your certain state, you can Google certain things, but there's not a lot of good like support on these theories or tests yet, or studies, as the doctor was saying as well. So I think you guys are definitely coming out with this amazing company in the perfect time, going to this new decade. I really hope that people can just really start knowing if the article that they're reading comes from a real medical article, something that actually tells you that this is a correct dosage, or what can be harmful, what cannot, because I want to touch base on some unfortunate situations that are going on here in Los Angeles where people will purchase flower from someone's backyard. And I don't think this person means harm in anyone, but they're definitely not an experienced botanist. I think they just go on YouTube, they look up things, and a lot of this stuff is, like we mentioned earlier, Wild Wild West. We're getting all these cowboys coming in for the green rush. Yes. And I understand people are trying to make a living, and the black market is dying, which is a good thing, because it's not safe, that market. So now people are trying to make an honest living with it. But they're using, which is making it not safe, they're using like weed killer for these flowers. And then they're smoking it, they're selling it. I've heard of horror stories here in Los Angeles where college kids would buy imitation vapes from someone's trunk because they can't afford the real brand, like Dr. Green Thumb, cookies, and they'll have like the almost identical packaging. But it's not, because you look at the price margin, $25 for a certain type of vape like Stizzy or any type of green care solution products doesn't add up. And same with CBD. If you can get CBD at a gas station, it might not be the best CBD. If you see CBD on sale for $5.99, it might not even be CBD. Could be hemp seed oil. They put the CBD label on it and they just sell it to gas stations wholesale, and it's not regulated. And people really need to understand that they need to know where they're getting their products, because if they're maybe sick with an internal illness like cancer, like which you overcame, and congratulations, Chad, on that. What if someone really needs it for medical use, and maybe they're in a state where they can't really get it medicinally, and so they look into gas station CBD or the internet CBD. Sadly, Amazon, I don't think regulate CBD and hemp. Well, they don't sell CBD on there. They sell hemp, but a lot of these hemp companies, which I'm surprised Amazon has not caught on yet, they'll market themselves like CBD, and they'll be like 5,000 milligrams of hemp, perfect for inflammation, all this stuff. And it just doesn't, the wording is very misleading. And then people, unfortunately, they don't understand cannabis, would think hemp is CBD, or there's even extreme cases where people think hemp is THC. But for anyone that's listening that really would like to use it for medicinal use, contact a doctor. That's why we have one here to also verify what I'm saying. And also, there's people like Chad and Jason out there that really want to clean up the industry in a good way. I mean, it's crazy. This plant's been here for thousands of years before we've all been alive, but it's had its problems through the years. And also, which I wanted to bring up really quick, I think Hollywood also kind of messed it up too, because movies would always show kids doing crazy things, smoking cannabis, and I think that might have also brought a lot of taboo into it. the entertainment aspect of, oh, look at these kids getting high, oh, party, and then the parents are like, oh my God, that's horrible, which I totally understand, but people need to really educate themselves on what it is, hemp, CBD, THC dosages, and I think this app could really help people understand what they're consuming and how to find a real company.
And it's kind of like a Cannabuddy as well. It's like a cannabis buddy. Because I think what we've got to be aware of is that there's still a lot of mums and dads out there who do have quite painful stories and have had challenging circumstances with a son or daughter that has gone about misusing cannabis. So when you try to engage them in discussion about that, there's a certain view of how cannabis is seen through. It's the lens in how it's seen through, and it's, more recent history, as you've just been indicating, shows the not so glamorous side of cannabis. And I guess really what we're looking at doing is constructing a new image and a new perception about cannabis. And that's why it's essential for data and for people to be involved in that themselves. So it's an authentic and a natural progression of how this industry can do more than just health. You have a look at cannabis going into plastics and, the industrial uses of it and what it can do. And like looking at the states at the moment, it's been classified an essential item, right, throughout these very challenging times. So there's like macro benefits that are associated with cannabis, and it's about getting it right at this stage at the moment. I think getting it right is about supporting people, to feel their best and ensure that there's a safe and quality product and that there's the efficacy, because then these conversations start occurring and you get a network effect while continuously we're starting to build up this new narrative about cannabis. And that's what's required to get it to spread to these other states and to people that have potentially seen a certain lens of it. And it's about gently challenging that through discussions and demonstrating it through evidence. We know science talks. So let's get the data to be able to prove what many of us know and have experienced on a personal basis about the healing properties of this plant.
Mm-hmm. Such a good point to just use these products to control the narrative. The narrative has for so long been, this mania, the reefer madness that you could get from cannabis, or that cannabis could make you go crazy, or that it's a gateway drug where you're going to start using other. We all know about all of these crazy narratives that have been the leaders for many years. So now it really is time to address cannabis in a different way, and we don't want to be in a position where we're saying all of that was incorrect. We want to be in a position to where we're leading what's being said.
Mm-hmm. So, Doctor, what is your professional opinion on cannabinoids in all forms of the cannabis plant for internal illness, anxiety, for health purposes?
Oh, there's many, many uses for this plant, and it's been vastly underutilized, primarily because of the prohibition. But we've identified the endocannabinoid system, which is a system that lays over your entire body, really affects every cell in your body, similar to the system around your thyroid or the system that your cortisol, that your adrenal glands work with. So we have other systems that work to regulate and restore balance and homeostasis across your entire body. But the endocannabinoid system does the same thing. So it's remarkable, really amazing that our bodies have a system that is designed to use cannabinoids, either the CBD that your body makes naturally, which is called anandamide, or from plants, or you could also stimulate it with synthetic cannabinoids from a test tube. But we have CB receptors located throughout the brain and spinal cord, throughout all of these other tissues and organs in the body. And people are able to work with cannabinoids to restore balance and homeostasis. There's very reasonably good evidence about anxiety and pain, and using it particularly for end-of-life complications of cancer, for like the nausea, anxiety, insomnia that can surround end-of-life issues with cancer. But there's also some up and coming, very interesting data in Parkinson's and other tics and tremors. We, of course, have, indications for use for multiple sclerosis, great data, pretty robust data in the seizure realm. So lots of good information that I keep housed on my website and use for my coaching community courses. Lots of valuable material.
Yes, and I love that you brought up MS, because we've had Montel Williams on our show, and he went into a really good description of this. He is an advocate for cannabis, and he's been an advocate since the early 2000s, when it was extremely still taboo internationally. And he felt that Hollywood kind of shunned him when he was open about cannabis, which is kind of weird because they always promote cannabis to teenagers getting high and going crazy. But when he's trying to promote it in a way that's helped him with his life and health issues, they kind of shunned him on it. But he is currently has MS, and he's a stroke survivor. And I don't know if you guys follow him on social media or anything on the internet, but he's very active. He is an active snowboarder. He works out every day. He is very ripped. He is healthy. And when you think of someone who has MS, you think fragile and, not in that type of state or even in that mind. So I feel that there is so much, like you said, there is now evidence, of course, and then maybe we should have people like him who have a huge following, for us to start paying attention and seeing how this plant is helping people with these illnesses. Because I know, Chad, you are also an advocate for this. You're a cancer survivor. You are also in the realm of social work because you've helped people with mental illness. And I'm sure with CBD as well, it kind of goes hand in hand. Someone who has depression, so used to taking all these pain medications. And it's crazy when you watch these commercials. They'll say, we have a pain medication called X, Y, and Z. They'll show you this beautiful commercial of everyone holding hands, butterflies flying around, rainbows. And all of a sudden at the end, it's like, could lead to tumors, death, stroke, all these crazy things. And you're just like, oh my goodness, what?
Right.
I do really like that the side effects of this medicine, when you're using cannabis as a medicine, can be so helpful for all of the other conditions that you're dealing with. Because so often when somebody is having difficulty sleeping, they have an ache or pain that becomes more prominent when they're lying awake, or they have anxieties that start to rise to the surface. So if you have a product that has potential to help you not only fall asleep, but also manage your anxiety and help with pain, those are pretty neat side effects. That's a pretty neat side effect profile compared to, what you watch on TV. For sure.
Most definitely.
Like when I started taking cannabis, I was one of the people, and maybe some of the audience, someone's listening to this, is like that. And I was fairly anti-cannabis in some ways. I'd smoked a little bit when I was young, but not much, because too much THC and I got a little bit paranoid, etc. So just nothing for 9 years. Then I got put on this chemotherapy, and the chemotherapy I got put on was a derivative of DDT. So I was banned from human consumption in 1972. I had a terminal diagnosis, so I was expected to die within under 2 years. The government of Australia had signed me off on the highest tier of pension, and I had nasty side effects. I was back then had a pen and paper, and I was tracking my side effects down because I was trying to optimize. As Dr. Mary talks about, utilizing cannabis to get to a state of equilibrium can be very helpful. I didn't know it at that stage. I was trying to do, a lot of visualizations, meditation, eating different diets, etc. But I had these side effects where I was getting extremely fatigued every day. The nausea was crazy. The sense of smell when I was not able to keep my body warm, etc. And it wasn't until the cancer came back the next time and then metastasized that I asked myself the question. I'd been hearing about it a little bit, and I was like, why not? Why not? Why not try it? And literally, the side effects disappeared. The next day, I never got side effects again, because by that stage, I already had an understanding through tracking about what time the side effects were going to hit and how intense they were. And then I integrated cannabis in as a trial just to think, why not? And literally, it's been every day since then that I've been using some form with different breaks to allow my body to reload. But I was someone that was like, oh, no, that's not for me. And then just oh, my gosh, the difference in what it made to my life, my parents' life and my friends, and just seeing the change was it's why I'm here. It's definitely why I'm here doing what I'm doing, because it's there's an injustice that's been associated with the plant, and it's how do we allow more people to be able to benefit from it?
Most experts think that it's a centrally mediated problem, that it's that nausea and loss of appetite with cancer is occurring in the brain. And it might just be a direct side effect of the chemotherapy. There's probably something going on with the cancer cells impacting the endocrine system in the gut, like, leptin and ghrelin and CCK, so that you have a sense of fullness even when your tummy is empty. So it may be impacting that the endocrine system within the gut, which is all tied in with the microbiome. And as you know, that whole microbiome is communicating with your brain through that superhighway, the vagus nerve. So by using high THC products, that generally will work the best on nausea and loss of appetite for cancer. That's a very good place to apply a high THC sativa product. That seems to be, at least by the type of data that Chad is collecting with his documents, that seems to be the type of product that is most effective in that setting.
Okay, so that kind of leads me to my second question. You kind of already answered it then, because with what you guys offer as a company for QualScore, it shows this data that Chad is providing, and maybe other people who are suffering from internal illness or maybe insomnia or other types of conditions. And then they'll have like a specialist like yourself, doctor, explain it so people know, okay, this is why cannabinoids will help treat this, or THC will help treat this symptom, versus them going to like YouTube from a blogger. No offense to these bloggers. I'm sure they don't mean harm, but unfortunately it could be passing incorrect information. So then essentially QualScore helps getting the proper information for people like Chad and others to know exactly why this plant is helping for this specific thing.
Yeah, I think that having good, robust data is going to be valuable for everybody going forward. We're getting good data from these scoring tools. There's some data coming out of Israel, and there's some potential for better research in the United States. I think there's some upcoming legislation that will allow us to be able to have better access to products and be able to do more research. But we really don't want to delay people's health and people's restoring just general health and wellness for people with this product. I think of cannabis and CBD as more of an adaptogen for many people rather than as a particular medicinal treatment. We're all under so much stress and pressure all the time. Even before we got into this global pandemic, we're all working 24/7 and 8 days a week. That's the new norm of how hard we're all supposed to be working and be available. And it's intense for everybody. So having products that are already designed to work with the system that's in place in your body to provide relief from those symptoms, it's a very powerful product for us. We're really lucky, and it speaks to me to a higher power that never really intended for us to be in pain or be anxious or to suffer while we're here. I think it's a difference between my mom, who is always feeling, always working in a guilt and blame, sort of more organized religion concept. And my daughter, who says, we're not here for a long time, we're here for a good time.
From the Drake song. Drake's preaching some good lyrics. Yes. And what's so interesting too, and this is a question for all of you, feel free, whoever wants to jump in. Here in the U.S., it's a huge pharmaceutical industry, country, insurance-based country. And do you guys ever think I know with these elections coming up, things could change, but that soon we already know it's leading towards this, but pharmaceutical companies are going to start regulating cannabis. But do you think it'll be a good thing in the sense that our doctors can give us a note for this cannabinoids or THC prescription that our insurance could hopefully cover, because maybe that can also help prevent kids getting it from backseats of trunks or buying it at a gas station to help keep it clean? And do you think this would ever be legal in the U.S. to do? I feel like other countries it might happen sooner than here.
Who wants to go?
Why don't you take a crack at it?
Yeah. So I think that there's a necessary need in the first instance to be able to get consistency in different products and, that are available. Because if we have consistency in products, then we're able to do the testing and the research which is required. Now, in terms of how this unfolds, I still think it's necessary for the cannabis industry to differentiate from the pharmaceutical industry. I think there's a different history, and I think that there's a different future. That future may be jeopardized because of the potential of where cannabis can take humanity, not just in terms of healthcare, but beyond that. And I think that a lot of people know this, and the reason why it's been caught up in different countries has been because people are trying to work out how it fits in, because then it comes back to the finances that are associated with it. So I don't know if I answered it correctly, but I think the cannabis industry needs to stay. I think it can be influenced by the pharmaceutical industry in some ways to look at different standards and different regulation that can come in to improve quality, safety, and efficacy. But I think they need to be different, because what we're dealing with is plants, and there could be a way for the pharmaceutical industry to strip certain cannabinoids out of it, and then to have something like a CBD isolate, which would be able to come in. And then you compare that to something like a full spectrum CBD, and Dr. Mary would be able to come in and speak in more detail. But I think when we're dealing with plants, the very structure of the different chemicals working together is different to a pharmaceutical, and the interactions between the different cannabinoids that can exist in something like a full spectrum product. And a full spectrum product means that it has a range of different cannabinoids, not just something like an isolate, which would be a CBD specific product. And I think the benefits and the research indicates that a full spectrum product is much more effective. And I think that I think it's very necessary to be able to know that this is a plant, that a plant is very different to a pharmaceutical product, and that we need to look at regulation, but we need to be mindful about the very nature of what we're taking, and that is a plant-based medicine.
That's very
Dr. Mary?
I think that's really perfectly stated. I mean, in most cases, people do fantastically with a whole plant, with just modifying the strain so that they get a strain that might be more relaxing or more focusing, or one that is a bit higher in THC for all kinds of different purposes, for situations more like chronic severe pain or cancer type symptoms. But there's also, I think, a realm for some people who have very serious conditions like inflammatory bowel disorders or cancer, or where it might be wise for us to do a little bit more research, concentrate particular characteristics of these plants, which is where we got Valium, right? Or where we get so many of our medicines are actually from a medicinal plant that goes through distillation. So if we can figure out that one or another particular aspect of the plant is the most powerful thing and concentrate it for certain circumstances, that's going to be a valuable thing for the pharmaceutical industry can contribute. But we can never take away flower. I mean, their flower has its own very valuable position in this industry, and we always have to make sure that people have the availability of the unprocessed product.
Just wanted to throw in just a quick note about things like how what we're trying to do is help introduce senior citizens, people new to cannabis, people interested to learn about this new product in medicine, to have a great experience the first time and not worry about, is there vitamin E acetate in my stuff? Am I going to die?
That's good you brought that up. Vitamin E is not that good for seniors, especially if they're like stroke survivors, etc.
Oh, right. And so the black market is filling these cartridges with these additives, cutting corners to make profit. So what we're going to really do is find the good actors in the space. So you can really think of like two big buckets that businesses are in currently. There's one bucket or pool of good actors, bad actors, semi-bad actors. what I'm trying to hope is explain to the good actors in this bucket is, hey, there's a other bucket here called QualScore that you could come into, start building your reputation the right way, because this is where good actors live. This is where they build their reputation the right way with true verified data, verified transactions, and they use it as a compliance tool, my software at first, to handle complaints and document, store those things. It'll keep you compliant. Then they'll use my system as a feedback system to listen and learn from their customers. And then they'll improve. And through the feedback that's coming into the system, if it scores well and they rank well high enough on our scale, then we give those businesses an opportunity to promote themselves with certain popular marks. We have a quality mark, we have a safe mark, and a trust mark. And so we're going to have these destination websites like Satisfactionville, where consumers go to get the satisfaction they deserve. And that will be populated with companies that have matched all these requirements that QualScore is pushing, so that the consumers can find those businesses really easily and then purchase those products, hopefully have a good experience. And then we're going to get further and further along with the data gathering in terms of efficacy. But then once we get that data coupled with different profiles and then all the test lab facility individual cannabinoid data, we're going to be able to really recommend certain things to certain people with certain ailments, which will be really exciting. But that's all in the future. And so what we're just trying to do is really develop a supply chain of trust, a place where consumers can go to find these great high-performing companies. We have a system and a place where now all these companies can go prove themselves and get out of that bad actor space and just do it the right way. And so I want to explain the SAFE certification just real quickly, because it will really help people understand that to accomplish and have this SAFE certification on your packaging or labeling website, basically that's claiming that your quality, your products are super high quality and nobody is getting ill, sick, or hospitalized. So they have to go through obviously the vetting of QualScore. Their customers have to rate them high enough. Then what we do is go through their business processes and start from how they grow. Okay, are they growing it to OCal standards? Okay, great. We'll see the paperwork on that. Then the second thing we look at is, are they manufacturing it correctly? Are they doing it to ISO 9001, 2015 standards to be GMP certified? Okay, great. They check that box off. Okay, now are they actually lab tested, or do they have their license? Do they have their lab and packaging or labeling and packaging requirements? So all that paperwork has to be up to date and documented and verified by QualScore. And then on top of that, the consumer data, and then they will be listed up on these websites and have those utilizations of those marks, so that obviously the main thing and people that we want to be concerned about is the people that are interested in cannabis. And the people that have been affected most on the war on drugs in the Reagan era and the reefer madness, they're literally brainwashed. And they think that weed is bad. And it's very much a needed educational thing to slowly educate them that maybe this medicine could be a better than your Oxycontin or your alcohol or something like that. Because the side effect profile is so small, in my opinion. And we're going to work with OnTracka and Mary Clifton to get all the data to really make all these claims. We won't make these claims until we have the data. That's very important. That's why we are having these systems built. And I hope that all the dispensaries out there that are listening, or if you know of a dispensary, tell them to get a QualScore, because literally that's going to be synonymous with it. If you have a license, you should have a QualScore because it's an honest, fair, transparent system. We're not asking you to do anything out of the ordinary. It's just satisfy your customers. The real secret to the sauce and how you score well with QualScore is you take care of your customers. We have a saying a saying of no customer is left behind. So just take care of all your customers. Focus on your customers. And then we'll have the systems to get all the data then so you can promote yourselves the right way. And then hopefully consumers can find those great companies. And then we can have this big eco system of trust. And that's what we're trying to build, Yanitza. Sorry to keep going.
No, this is perfect. No, you're totally fine, because that's ideally what I also wanted the viewers and listeners to really understand, is because of what's going on right now. There needs to be change, and I love that you guys are creating that change in a positive way.
Explain what this would actually look like for your audience, how the three of us would connect. And what that would mean is that you have someone that walks into a dispensary, they receive the product from, or they choose it from their bud tender, they get that. And at the moment, they then walk out, they utilize their product, and they come back to the bud tender and say it worked or it didn't work. Now, the combination from the three of us means that the person walks in, buys their product, then goes to an app, which is white labeled to be the dispensary's app, but in that is OnTracka and QualScore's technology. So then the user then enters their dosing and gets guided through a process where it also looks at things like meditation, their mental health. They receive the QualScore ratings, and then inside of the app, Dr. Mary is there as well through in-app messaging and validated questionnaires to be able to gather data and support her or her coaching team to be able to support users throughout that. Then the user comes back to the bud tender, has all this information, has been supported with an after-sales service, and has validated metrics to be able to support that. And then they come back to the dispensary. Like, think about the benefits to everyone that has occurred throughout that transaction. And that's the magic that occurs between us three.
Mm-hmm. It's about time. I'm so happy that I found you guys and that you guys are doing this, because this is stuff that, honest to God, I've been talking to my friends about. There needs to be a service like this, because people go in blindly to these dispensaries, or they just try it blindly and they're not sure if it works for them or where they can buy it or what exactly they're consuming. And it's good that there are educated individuals like yourselves who are creating positive change into helping people understand what they're consuming and how it could really help them or their loved ones.
It's almost easily said. It's safe for you, safe for all, safe for grandma, even Fido, right? So what we want to do is really clean up this problem. There's a huge quality problem. There's a huge safety problem, and we're here to be the answer.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And Jason, please let us all know how people can find your company, QualScore, and your website, any social media handles if you have them.
Thank you so much. You can find me at QualScore.net.
Thank you. And Mary?
I'm Mary Clifton, MD, on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find all of my information at cbdandcannabisinfo.com. My coaching program is the Cannabinoid Protocol.
Perfect. And how can everyone find you, Chad?
Yeah, Chad Walkaden on Instagram, LinkedIn, and if you just type in OnTracka, OnTracka, into Google, it's the top of the list.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Everyone, I'm Yanitza Munoz here on Green Talk by Green Care Solutions on KCAA, NBC Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all podcast platforms. Till next time, guys, and I would love to have you back in the near future to keep talking more about this educational stuff, because we always have celebrities on, but I've been telling my co-producers it's time to really get some doctors, some people who are qualified in the industry, and entrepreneurs like yourself, Chad and Jason, who are really changing the game in a positive way. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Till next time, guys.
Thank
Adios.
you so much.